Well, hello everybody, this is Make It Better. Sorry for the very, very long wait. My only explanation is this some information for my real life. I'm a Christian, and by that meaning, I went through Lent. Also, by that meaning, I did something during Lent that also explains why I didn't talk at all for most of the whole weeks, almost months. Now, what I mean is, I did it's technically an experiment, but see how long I can go through Lent without really speaking to anybody. Of course, I did the smaller stuff of just nodding, agreeing, or answering, but after that, I didn't speak out to anybody else. And it was so calming. Well, technically, it was calming when I was by myself. When I was with everybody else and I couldn't speak up or speak out, I was getting irritated by everything. In turn, made me irritated to do these because I need a level head to actually do these. Anyway, I think that's basically it. And I'm sorry. So, I'm not sure if I'm going to do one. This could be the last, or I'm going to do another one. After that, let's get into the story, shall we? Now, this is What If Deku Had Nightmares Part 33. Man, that's a long one. Last time we left off was Zuko and everybody else was in front of the gates. Someone knocked the door, and a few villains broke through and, well, made a ruckus. Multiple unnamed heroes came by, deal with them as they were making a distraction. Zuko, Night-Eye, Sir Night-Eye, and Mario lead the way. As they were leading away into the secret passes as they're going over, Mario was running through every single wall as they were coming by. Zuko, taking this chance, having his full body armor, not covering up his face, and breaking through each wall, making enough space for everybody else. As this kept going faster and faster, Zuko and Mario was going further up ahead than the others, to a point that Sir Night-Eye was getting a little too slow and just tells them both to go to the very end, take a few directions, and you meet with them. Zuko nodded as he relayed the information to Mario. Mario takes this and nods as he runs. All the other stuff that happens with Kirishima, Fat Gum, Soul Eater, Sun Eater, and, well, Toga, all their fights happen the same thing. The same way. That's already 3 minutes. I might go faster than this. Been a while. Hold on. 3, 2, 1. Now, when Zuko was laying and going further behind since Mario was just running right through it. He was getting a little tired just using his right arm the whole time, so he started using his left arm, left foot, and right foot, making it smaller, but he still have enough to go through. Now, Mario was fighting against this drunken guy. As he was fighting against him and finally beat him down, Zuko finally came through the walls. After this, Zuko asked did he catch them, and Mario said no, they just went through that wall. As Zuko run by him and said, "You take care of this, I'll take care of him." Mario nodded and, of course, tied up the guy that made him drunk. Now, Zuko sees Overhaul pulling on Eri as Eri is trying, well, to struggle. She doesn't want to leave, especially in a very dark room that she has no idea where it goes to. Overhaul was threatening her, and Zuko sees this and gets so frustrated, so well, it is frustrated. He threw out his arm as Overhaul sees that weakly throw and start taunting him that he will never make it. As to his surprise, Zuko connected the punch. Overhaul, of course, get hit in the face, making him let go of Eri, which was Eri getting pulled by the other commandment. I forgot what he does. He has the one that has a gun. As Eri is just like kind of crying and saying that she doesn't want to go. I don't want to go. I want to stay. Please let me stay. And the guy, being very frustrated with this kid, smacked her, and that smack sound echoed throughout the room. And we see Zuko angered, very much overpowered. He covered his rest of his body, his hands, and his face, covering him from top to the toes in black. And he rushed towards Overhaul and throwing a bunch of throws, air blasts, air flicks, kicks, and Overhaul is dodging some of them, but he's getting hit on the rest. And Overhaul is now throwing back a bunch of debris, pillars of stone over to Zuko. And Zuko's not dodging them. He is smashing each and every one out of the way. As he was keep doing this, he's trying to reach for Eri, but Eri is just getting further and further away. And Zuko's getting really frustrated. And call out one for all again as much more percentage. Right now he's at, I forgot how high I made it. So, 19%. And he feels it almost bursting out of his skin, but enough where he can control. As he's getting faster and faster, well, he was at 15, slowly going up to 19. And those small percentage is, well, Overhaul is starting to see that this kid is really a threat. So he's starting to pull off his gloves, and Eri sees this and yells out, "No, don't do it," as she's crying out not to. And Overhaul pull out his gloves and just waiting for Zuko to come by. As Zuko was getting real close and throwing the final punch at Overhaul's face, Overhaul touched his arm. Just barely of a touch. And to everybody's, well, Overhaul's glee, it did some shrapnel sparkles starting to fly off like he always expected. But Zuko's glee as well, it's only his armor that's coming off. As it's dissipating and becoming more liquid, starting to splat back onto Overhaul. All the hits that he's been getting taken by Overhaul right now is now going to be relayed into Overhaul, back into his body. After Overhaul, of course, feeling the impacts from every single hit as if he was fighting himself, Zuko took this moment and did a roundhouse kick on Overhaul's side, getting him further into a corner. Zuko, by this point, sees that Mirio finally gets here, and Zuko asks Mirio to take care of him as he gets Eri, and Mirio said got it and went over to Overhaul. Overhaul, after getting up from that single blast and, well, shallow pain going all over his body, sees Mirio and starts to fight against him as in canon. Now for Zuko quickly made work with the guy that was holding Eri. As Zuko finally took him down, Zuko looks over to Eri and asks her if she's okay. And Eri can just see how worried Zuko is. His face guard is off, his mask is off, only his face is showing. And to Eri's eyes, she remembers the little dream. The nightmare, but still a dream. She sees a little boy crying, sobbing, with no smile. And now she's looking at an older version, tearing up, but asking her if she's okay. The one thing she wanted to hear. And she reached out her arms, and Zuko grabbed onto her tightly and ushered her out of the building as far away as he can, all the way to one of the entrance he made with a wall. As he was about to go through, he felt an impact that came from behind by Overhaul's spikes, and it seemed the spike was barely puncturing into the armor. Zuko feels it and uses that momentum and twists his body enough where it flew around him into the wall, and sadly Sir Nai was coming through. He was about to ask what's going on, and he looked down and saw, well, the spike going through him. The spike, Zuko saying no, cut the spike down in half, and Sir Nai collapsed, breathing heavily but still conscious. Zuko asked him, if he can still fight, can he still see the future? And Nai can't really speak since he's spitting up blood as he's saying anything. Zuko asked Sir Nai if he can take care of Eri, and Sir Nai tried to say yes, but Zuko was sadly interrupted by another spike from Overhaul, and then a yell from Muriel. As Muriel was saying no in a very scared tone of voice, Zuko turns around, and Eri is just shakingly pointing over to Muriel and trying to yell out, "Watch out!" As this all was going on, a bullet was going straight towards Eri. Zuko was still holding her, but trying to hand her over to Sir Nai, just giving the guy that seemingly was unconscious enough space to shoot at Eri. Zuko sees everything going on, threw out his arm straight to the bullet, wrapping his whip around the bullet into a single case, pulling it back. By this moment, Muriel phased through everybody as he saw how Zuko took care of the bullet. After phasing through everything, he went down under, going all the way over to Overhaul, and did a huge uppercut over at Overhaul, making him fly out of the ceiling. By this point, getting collapsed by the dragon hero. Overhaul is starting to breathe heavily as he sees his comrades. Now, Zuko, with the very bullet still in his whip, and not knowing if it's deadly or not, decides to wheel back, swing a little bit, and flung it over to the man that shot Eri. And by the moment that Zuko let go, it went twice as fast. Faster than anyone could see, but Zuko knows where he threw it at. And the guy felt it on his chest, going straight on and almost making a huge indent in his chest, puncturing and, losing his Weber quirk that he had, as he finally fell unconscious after that blow. Overhaul up in the ceiling, now in the uh, well, top ceiling, whatever. What's the word? In the house, he sees the rest of his comrades, the ones that he truly trusted. So he touched them and fused with them, with their bodies, making that huge, massive, ugly monster with 6 arms and a huge mouth, yelling out and trying to defeat everybody. The dragon hero tried to fight back, but Overhaul is pushing her back with a few cement pillars into her body, making her not lose control of her quirk and deactivating. Oraka finally gets down to the lower levels and look around to find anybody. He sees she sees Mirio and asks Mirio where's Zuko, and Mirio points over to Zuko as Zuko is asking anyone to take care of her. And Oraka ran over to Zuko and asked her if he's okay, as he is, but they both hear a huge crash as Mirio, or the dragon hero, came through from the ceiling back down and transforming back into her human form. And she's breathing heavily. Zuko sees everybody distressed, and even Mirio can't even fight against something like this, since he got punched a few times as he did that risky maneuver. Zuko asked Uraka if she could take care of Eri. As Zuko looks into her eyes, and Uraka said, "Yes, I can." And just as she reach out her arms towards Eri, and Zuko looks over to Eri and asks her, "Now, please, just go with her. You can trust her." As Eri looks over to Uraka with her, as Uraka's tearing up and trying to hold it together, she looks over to Zuko, and Zuko nods yes to her, as she slowly went over to Uraka. Zuko, of course, asked Mirio to protect Uraka as well as Eri, as Mirio said, "I got it." And by this moment, Sir Nai tried to yell out, "No, don't do it." As everybody else that was around him taking care of him, he sees a vision of Zuko getting punched through his stomach like he was the moment he gets surpast that ceiling. And Zuko is now charging up one for all the way up to 20%. It's burning, it's crackling, he can feel his muscle tendons breaking. But when he covers himself with armor and holding that power in, he just feels more energized, more indestructible. And he flew up, using whatever pillars that was coming down from Overhaul. Zuko was stepping on them, braking on impact, but using that force to keep climbing up higher and higher. The moment he passed the ceiling, he saw another pillar of spikes coming towards him, a huge amount, where he cannot dodge no matter what. Zuko sees that he thinks he's gonna die. And for a moment there, he actually did. But he realized that he can't give up now. So he threw out as much of his whips, all of it that was coming from his fingertips, arms, elbows, joints, off of his body into the spikes, which is pushing him back. And when the spikes stopped, Zuko was just mere centimeters away from the very spike that was about to puncture him. Zuko used the rest of this and start climbing over and looking straight up at Overhaul, as Overhaul is laughing and saying all these other stuff, that all these quirks are a disease and must be destroyed now, even if he is the only one that can do it. Three, two, one. Now Zuko is kneeling down into the ground as low as possible, which Overhaul thinks this to be a perfect chance to throw some more. Since he's up in the air, he can't do anything, so he threw a huge lump of his flesh towards Zuko, the hardening part of his body, hardest part, mostly bones. And Zuko rushed, jumped, sprinted, whatever you want to use, up to the sky as if he was flying, making a huge Superman pose up to Overhaul and throwing a huge punch into Overhaul's stomach. And Overhaul didn't reach fast enough because, well, he felt most of his guts moving out of the way after that moment. Some of his flesh was starting to peel off. He regained everything else he had at that moment and noticed that he was still flying up higher and higher. When he finally slowed down, he looks around to see where Zuko is. Expecting him to be still on the floor, he looks down. But Zuko shows a huge amount of fist, shallow fist, coming in a wall of spikes. And when Overhaul looks over to his left and sees what's coming by, he only feels the impacts. All of it going to his face, to his arms, to his chest, stomach, and legs. Everything going against him. And Zuko is not laying up. He is going on and on until he is satisfied. Until he is sure that Overhaul is not getting back up. To a point where Overhaul tried to throw anything else, whether glance or flesh that he felt, he destroyed. And sadly, most of the flesh he touched was his own that was flying off. And those were destroyed to a point where he finally hit down in the ground. Zuko still up in the sky, using whatever force that he had to stay up higher, and charging up one for all 100% throughout his body, and he made a huge impulse of air pushing him straight down into Overhaul. Zuko threw out a huge punch over to Overhaul's gut and making him passed out, almost near death. Everybody saw the fight going, in awe and almost terrified on this kid and what he did. When they looked over and kind of see a little bit of the chest moving up and down, thinks that that guy is still alive. Oraka, as well as Eri, Muriel, certainly not I, being surprised, more surprised than everybody else, seeing that his prediction was wrong, but also seeing Zuko using 100% of one for all and not having his body destroyed. Thinking that this kid could actually be the next number one hero, surpassing All Might. After the whole thing settled, the cops took Overhaul in. As Overhaul deactivated his quirk, the rest of them, well, there weren't enough pieces of anybody else. Overhaul only had enough pieces for his upper torso. He was leaving. What he had left was the body parts that he did not have was his right leg and his left arm, all gone. Can't find it, and too tired to even try to use his quirk. There were handcuffs covering up his arm, where he can't even touch anything with the other hand. And he was too tired to even try, and he was thrown into the back of the cop car. Now, to another scene. Zuko's on a bed. He feels a lot of pain. as he was waking up, opening up his eyes slowly to a point where he can open them. But when he tried to move, he can feel every single pain that goes over his body. And he tried to activate his quirk, but it's not coming out. After Zuko feels something heavy on his side, he looks over and sees that it's Uraka, with some bandages over her eye and some of her arm. Uraka felt the movement and looked over to Zuko and just give him a huge hug, tightly, to a point where Zuko actually moaned "ow" as Uraka said sorry as she lets go. Zuko tried to get back up even more, but as he's going, he feels every muscle pulled, strained, and popping in weird ways. As he finally sat up, he asked what happened, as Uraka relayed the rest of the story. Few hours passed by. Mario came by after some bandages around his torso, stomach, upper chest, right arm, and a few in a clutch for his left leg. Zuko asked what happened to the others. As Muriel said, as you were sleeping here, Sir Nai was in critical and Muriel can't say anything else. He's still too impacted. He still can't believe what's happened. And All Might finally came by and reach out a hand onto Muriel's shoulder, and All Might informed Zuko that Sir Nai died. And Zuko lowered his head and says, "I see." But All Might kept going and said, "But we have defeated the Yakuza and saved the girl." Okay. Mario, you can go back to your room. Zuko and Miss Uraka, you're free. All Might thinks, says, and remembers what Nezu said, and saying, "You have 5 days off of school, as well as long you're in this hospital. I'll see you soon, kids." As he leaves. Zuko, of course, kept quiet, and Uraka just, sitting right next to Zuko and hoping to be the shoulder he can cry on, as he was for her. Uraka tried to lighten things up and asked him if he could tell her everything that happened up to that point. Zuko said, "It's still too fuzzy. I need to." He kind of said some other words, but too lightly and hushed to a point where he fell back to sleep. He moaned in pain, but he fell asleep. Few days passed by. Uraka was staying by his bed this whole time, and basically feeding him every time he had to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Zuko complains that the food is terrible, and Uraka just saying, "Eat it, you big baby." As Zuko said, "Make me," as Uraka picked up some of the food and forced it down his throat. Zuko tried to fight back, but his arm still hurts a lot. He was choking a few times, coughing up a bit, and he got some water, drinking as much as he can, ignoring the pain. Uraka was saying sorry, but you really need to eat your food. And Zuko said, "What are you, like my mother?" And Uraraka said, "Nope, but I sure hope I can be something more." Which Zuko tried to try his best to ignore that part. And then they hear a cough in the corner. They looked over and see Sir Aizawa. Aizawa explained the dangers in the world of the hero world and how close they were to death, especially Zuko. But after the whole thing, Aizawa also says that he's proud of you too, as well as everybody else. And everybody will be waiting for you in the dorms. Zuko said thank you, but when Aizawa was finally walking out of the door, Zuko asked and said, "Wait, where's Eri?" And Aizawa said, "I'll tell you when you're able to walk on your own two legs." And Zuko tries to get out of bed and Uraraka helps him out. But Zuko, at the moment he touched the floor and tried to stand on his own two legs, he fell to the floor, onto his knees. And Uraraka helped him out and Aizawa said, "Now get back to bed. You still need more recovery girl. Recovery girl will come by later. Hopefully with enough stamina to help you." Zuko bows his head saying thank you. Now over to Eri's room. She's still shocked and surprised, but she was mostly talking to Muriel, as Muriel tried to comfort her and tell her that he is coming by. He will come by. He did not abandon you. You will see him again. And Eri just asked one question. What's his name? And Muriel said his name, what's his name? He's thinking to himself, but he only knows his hero name. And so he says the hero name. I think I gave him Sandman. Yeah, I think I gave him Sandman. Anyway. After the whole instance, Zuko finally met with Recovery Girl. After Recovery Girl gave him the kiss and giving Uraraka the kiss, she can take off her bandages, but Zuko still can't, since it's still a deeper wound. But Zuko can feel his legs and was about to try to get off of bed, but Recovery Girl smacked him in the head and tell him to wait another day. You're still recovering from this healing. And Zuko has to agree. After he finally came back in the morning early, he looks around and sees that Uraraka is not here, and her stuff is not here, until he remembers that she was going into the dorms and making sure everything was okay. Zuko said, "Oh right, the dorms. Oh." He tried to force himself. He still feels the pain, but fight through it. And he remembers that one of the conversations with Mario and Aizawa, what room the Eri was in. So he is slowly walking, leaning on one of the walls as he's climbing through, stepping by step, getting closer and closer, until a doctor sees him and tells the kid to go back to his room. And Zuko looks at him with a glare and scares the doctor away. The doctor informed the heroes, and the hero that was in there was All Might. All Might picked up Zuko with one of his arms, having Zuko lean onto him as they were walking over to Eri's room. They talked a little bit, but when Zuko finally opened the door and see Eri sleeping, All Might put him down right next to her bed, and have Zuko be right next to her and wait. A few hours passed by, and Zuko fell asleep, but Eri woke up. Like always, she looks up to the ceiling, seeing the white and more white ceiling, with squares. Look to her left, see no one there. Then look to her right and see the window. But she hears some snoring. She looks down and she sees Zuko, or the Sandman. And she kind of didn't know what to do at this point, so she reached out with her hand and started messing with his hair, which of course made Zuko wake up immediately, scaring her, and Zuko looking over to the right and then to the left and see Eri. And said, "Oh, Eri, you're awake. How are you?" Eri replies with, "I'm okay, and you?" And Zuko said, "I can be better," but he looks down at his wounds and said, "But I have a lot of friends that are waiting for me to get healed up." So, Eri, as they start to talk, small snippets of this and that, but Zuko's just there talking with Eri, as All Might was outside overhearing the conversation, as he does. After this few hours of talking, Zuko asked her, well, Eri asked Zuko the things that she saw in her dream, was that real? And Zuko said, yeah, without any hesitation, saying, yeah, that all of that was real. And Eri asked him, was there more? And Zuko said, yeah, there was more. Maybe when you're old enough and healthy, I'll show you the rest. As Eri kind of feels a little happier because she gets to know that someone else has gone through the same thing. And Zuko asks her, so, have you told the cops anything about what happened? As Eri looked down and saying no in a timid tone. Zuko nods his head, sees how Eri is acting, and reaches out with his hand and rubbing her hair, patting it, saying, no worries. I'm here. You don't have to be afraid of them at all. As Eri kind of tears up and starting to cry a bit, sniffling and holding on to the blankets even tighter, as Zuko just pat her and have her cry and cry and cry. After the crying stopped, Zuko asked her if she wants to eat some breakfast. And Eri kind of nodded her head up and down. Zuko called for breakfast, one for himself and for her. They eat, quietly but eating. And Zuko said, it feels like that we're in a dining room having dinner in like a huge happy family. And Eri kind of looked at him with a confused look and saying, what's a family? And Zuko, he felt attacked by that moment and explained what a family is, especially what a mom and a dad is. And Eri said, oh, I don't think I have one of those. And Zuko said, but now you can. Now you can actually have a true happy childhood. You don't have to be afraid for anything. After that, few more people come in, talked with her. She looks over to Zuko and then the officer and answers some questions. After she got enough of it, Zuko tells the officer to leave and asks for his father. They say that his father is still overworking from last night and needed to sleep in a bit. Zuko understood and said, just tell him about where I am and which room to meet in this room. They nod and have their merry way. the heroes come by, as well as Aizawa, as well as Muriel came by, and starting to talk about all the other smaller things. Now Zuko finally recovered fully, and Eri is was told that she still can't leave this hospital room just yet. Zuko finally has gone to his room, and a few days have passed, and I swear, it was way quieter when I was here. Now it's so loud. Uh, and he's starting to get ready to go over to the dorms. The moment he walked through the doors, Raka ran over to him, gave him a huge hug as he tried to throw her around, but the force was too much and he fell over. As well as the others, his friends, Kaminari, Sero, Kaminari, ran to him and made a huge dog pile. After that little session, he got back up and was given a lot of questions, most of it that he cannot answer. And then asked for some time since he's very tired, went over to his room, but this whole time Oraka was still holding onto his arms. He opened his door, walked in, and asked Oraka if she would let go. She said no. And Zuko asked her if she wants to sleep and go to sleep, and she said yes. So Zuko just closed the door, not even caring of taking off any of his clothes or his shoes, and just flopped onto the bed. Zuko feels some of the pain that's still wrapped up. Most of it is his cracked ribs. But after all of this, some time passed by and he finally fell asleep in Oraka's arms. Now, this will be the end of this story. The next one will be coming up. Thank you for listening, and yeah, that's basically it. Well then, bye.